Hello and welcome to Property Mastermind Podcast, episode 229. Today we are talking lost opportunities, what you've missed out on, but what you could still catch. We're going to make you feel very inspired when it comes to property development. And for those of you listening, or you perhaps listening, who feels like you've missed out on something amazing, just know it's never too late. We're going to unpack that today in this week's episode. So let's jump on in. Hello and welcome to episode 229, Lost Opportunities, what you missed and what you can still catch. Welcome aboard, Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Ms. Saxton. Great to be here.
Ms. Saxton. But before we get started, we're giving away the book. And this book today is going to Michaela Sinclair. Michaela, Shelley will reach out tomorrow and this will be in the post to you. Can't wait to meet you. On another note, bit of a shameless plug this week. If you'd like a copy of my book, it has won a huge amount of recognition lately. I've just won 2 book awards, one of the Able Book Awards, and I won a Stevie Award for this book. So if you are lacking confidence in moving forward and would like to purchase a copy of this, reach out and Shelley will send you a link. But it's called 3 Wines In because how do you feel after you've had a few drinks? You feel really confident and you're bulletproof. And that's how we need to be with life all the time without having to have the 3 wines to get there. Anyway, bit of a shameless plug today, Bob. What are your thoughts?
It's not shame. Well,
people
call
might
it
think
shameless, but I mean, it's just won some great awards. I mean, that's pretty proud of watching you in New York.
Yeah, walking up
going up there and collecting your
2 silver and 2 bronzes.
2 silver and 2 bronzes, and of course won the gold earlier.
Yes,
for the podcast. So
for this podcast.
I'll forgive you for being shameless about promoting your book.
Well, really, if you are if you're wanting to achieve anything in life, it's about keeping motivated and it's about growing your confidence. Life is so much better when you know what stops you moving forward and you can work past that. I spent my whole life doing that, improving myself, trying to get better at the things that I want to be better at. And
you still do.
Oh, yeah, still do it now. Still join mentoring programs. I've just started working with a new coach for something else. That's just how I am. And that's the only way that I can live at the level that I want to live at. But it's all really around knowing who you are. And that's really important. And people don't get that. I know this podcast isn't about that. We're talking lost opportunities and what you've missed and what you can still catch. But in some ways, I often hear people say things like, now I'm getting to know myself, or no, what is it? I met somebody at the airport recently and she goes, now I've got time to find myself. And I think it's a journey all the way. You were never lost. Every experience you had made you who you are today, which goes with things like this book or both of these books. If you want to improve in an area, you just take the steps to do it. If you want to sit in a place that you're not improving, that's up to you. So, she's getting a bit deep already.
Yeah, I know. So early in the podcast.
Bob, what's your pro tip today?
Back to fishing. I might even relate to today's. There we go. Let me think about this one. Fishing one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't get upset if you lose the fish. There's plenty more in the ocean.
True story.
From somebody who's lost a few fish before they got to the boat.
Yes.
Or even pulled in a head after it's been attacked by a shark.
That was me.
That was you.
That was me pulled in the head. I thought I was pulling in a fish. It was really, the next thing I pull only in a head, so a shark ate it on the way. Yeah. Okay, well, today we're talking about like that. It's really around when you think that you've lost everything, and really you haven't you? Have you? Let's take this to property development straight off. What's the deal that you missed that you still think about, and maybe how do you feel now? Do you feel like it has regret with you, or are you okay with? Are you sitting with it?
I've lost a few deals. Obviously, you've been going for over 40 years. You're going to lose a few, hey. But there's one I remember. I talk about it occasionally. I mean, it's not something that worries me, and it didn't worry me at the time because I wouldn't let something have that sort of negative effect on me. But I was doing a project. It was 6 townhouses, and I was having some problems with it. It wasn't an easy project. I actually bought a site that was a big gully.
What the heck?
So it sloped down from the road to the bottom and then sloped up at the back, and It also, in heavy rain, took water, so it had overland flow. But what I did is I built a big suspended concrete slab from road level right across to the back of the block, and I built the 6 townhouses on the slab. Now, that's not cheap, but I did get it at a good enough price where I could do that, although I did have some problems along the way, particularly trying to get a builder who could build that sort of building for me at the right price, and also a structural engineer who could engineer that without over-engineering it. And the first structural engineer I used over-engineered it so much, it was just going to cost a fortune. Like, he designed that slab across the gully, which took up probably 3/4 of the block. He built it like you could build a 10-storey building on it. He designed it that way, I should say. And it just prohibitive cost. And then I had to go and find it. That cost me $25,000 for that design that I had to throw in the bin.
So frustrating. Then
I had to go and get another structural engineer to do a proper job, something that he could design that we could build. And I ended up getting prices from 6 builders before I got the price that I wanted. So it was giving me quite a bit of angst. I was working my way through it, but it was taking up all my headspace. At the same time, 1 block away, a site came up, and the agent contacted me, and he said, "Look, this site's coming up. It'll be it's going to hit the open market in 3 days, but I'm giving you a head start." And it was a site that had a development permit on it for 8 2-bedroom apartments. Really simple design, easy to build, and it was targeted a bit at students because it was 1 suburb away from the biggest university in the state, a couple of 100 metres from a lot of shops, about 400 metres from the rail, close to, it had everything, and an easy build. And I just kept putting it off, and because I kept getting so tied up with this other one, it was consuming my mind. And I let the 3 days lapse, and then somebody else snaffled it up. And while I was building my project 1 block away, I had to keep passing this one. And it already had the permit. So it started probably maybe 2 or 3 months after mine. So I was building mine for, 6, 7 months, 8 months, whatever it was, 10 months, while they were building that as well. And I thought, damn, that could have been me.
Darn it.
And it stacked up, and they ended up selling them for even more than I had in my feasibility. So it was a really good project. And of course, it was a lot simpler than the one I was doing, simpler in every way. And so, yeah, I used to drive past it and think, damn, I wish I'd bought that thing now, instead of getting so engrossed in I had to do the other one anyway.
Yep.
I should have just made the time, just created the time and the space to do something about that other one, and I let it go. It didn't, when I say I drove past it, it wasn't grating on me. I wasn't angry about it, but I just think, darn, oh, damn, I should have done that, but you can't let it get to you.
No, what's interesting, I think I want to point out a really valuable takeaway there was you brought up over-engineering, and that means for people, or for you, that's new, that means the engineer overdid it, and often that's just to cover their own bum. So if anything ever went wrong, like Bob said, you could have built a 10-storey building, and it needed nothing like that. So an engineer that will over-engineer to cover themselves or to make them look good or whatever, that doesn't work. So that's just, even though we're not on the over-engineering front, little plug, a little point there to take home. But something else you said, you could have found the time. And I had an interesting chat with a mentoring student today, and she was saying to me that time is, how do you find the time to do everything? And my answer to that for people that do struggle with time and are feeling like they're missing opportunities, because that's what it is sometimes you just got to let some stuff go. Sometimes you have to say, and you did it at that point. You thought, at the time you thought you didn't do it. But when you say you needed to if you could find the time, you would have had to have chosen to not do something that could have been family time, that could have been whatever you were into at the time, or just getting less sleep, or whatever it is that you would have needed to do. Because you've got to remember, with property development, This stuff isn't long term. Finding the money, getting organised for that site, getting that set up, that upfront stuff, your DD, running through your visa, which you already knew, that sort of stuff. Once that's done, you're down to the 4 hours a week.
Oh, yeah, or during construction.
Yeah.
Could be less than that. Yeah.
But I like that you let it go, Bob.
Yeah, I did. I let the site go, but I also let the angst go as well. And good luck to the person who bought it anyway. They would have done well.
How did you handle, how do you handle, because as you said, this has happened more than once, and we've seen it happen to mentoring students. In fact, Kyle posted in the closed Facebook group that we have, he goes, damn, I just missed out on a site. It had been on the market for 6 months. It showed good numbers, but he only saw it 4 days earlier and he should have been faster. So he'll be living with that little bit of regret. How do you handle the regret, Bob, when that sort of deal falls through your fingers?
No regrets. I haven't got any tattoos, as you know. I nearly got one once, and I was going to, I was going to call it no regrets.
You were?
Yeah, because you can't afford to have regrets. And
No.
so, but I didn't get the tattoo because I can remember it without looking at the tattoo. But that's funny.
Funny that I brought it up.
Well, funny that you brought it up, but funny me talking about getting a tattoo. But what was the question now?
I was just saying, how do you handle?
Oh, how do you handle it?
Yeah, how do you handle the regrets?
Well, you just got to move on, because you've often heard me say the next deal's just around the corner. And that's true. I mean, how often do you miss out on a deal, and even if you waited a while to try and find it, but the next one's just around the corner, and sometimes it's a better deal. I mean, I've missed out on a deal, and within a reasonably short amount of time, picked up another one. And I think, oh, this is the better deal. I'm glad I didn't get the other one now. You can do that with girlfriends and boyfriends too.
Yeah. All through your life.
All through your life. End up with someone better, something better. But there's always something around the corner.
The great thing about the brain, the human brain, is it always likes to be right. So it will find the reasons. If you tell yourself the next one was a better deal, it'll find the reasons to show you how it was. It'll be things like, well, it's actually a bit closer to home, or it was easier to do that, or your brain will look for little bits. If you choose to see it, if you think, oh, that's a better deal, your brain will make you right. So that's neuroscience. That's not the fact of Hilary. So just know that. Another thing I like to run with there, Bob, is accept or change. If you can't accept a situation, then you have to change it. If you can't change it because it's already sold, then you have to accept it. It's kind of like just move on and let it go, because the regrets like that can make us feel bitter and they can weigh us down. And we all know that person. We know that person who's bitter, that has that wee chip on their shoulder, that they talk to and you feel like they're a bit of a false Pollyanna. Okay, so Bob, the next one is, do you believe that your missed opportunities bother you less now that you've got more experience, or the same, or how does that?
I think when you get more experience, you come to the realization that there's a bigger pool of opportunities out there. When you're just starting off, all you can think about, I've got to do my first project. I want to do my first project. It's all you can think about. And you're doing the things that you have to do to find that project. And you're just concentrating on that. And so if you got, say, snagged at the post, if you thought you'd found it and someone just beat you to the punch, well, they just bidded that little bit extra at the auction or whatever it was that you didn't do it, particularly when you're starting out and that's all you can think about, that's what you're focusing on, it can be a bit of a downer. It's very important how you deal with that. But later on, when you've had experience, you might say you've been through a few fights, a few knocks, a few bruises. It's less of an issue if you don't get one. But you also come to the realization that there really is another deal around the corner. There is a pool out there, and with more experience, you come to realize that. So it means less. There's less disappointment. I think remember that song, "The First Cut is the Deepest"?
Yes.
Well, maybe that's a bit like that with your first development site. If you're just about there and you're nearly there and you're so excited, so you think, oh, damn, I lost it. Someone snaffled it off me or whatever. Whereas later, it doesn't mean like that. You go to an auction, you get outbidded. Oh, well, that's okay. There'll be another one pretty soon. Might be better than that one.
It reminds me of where focus goes, energy flows. So if you focus on the fact that you lost something, or this always happens to me, or you see that all the time, that's where you're putting your energy. When your energy goes somewhere, it evolves that thing. So you're better off not doing it. So yeah, a few one-liners from me today.
Yeah. Yeah, as property developers, we don't want like highs and lows and highs and lows. And I know some people have a personality where I can think of a guy I used to work with.
Or
He,
even me.
he was either
Okay.
over the moon excited and happy, or he was depressed. Like
Oh, no.
you never knew how you were going to find him one day.
Yeah.
You know, something could have happened in the morning. Oh, he's flat, he's low, and something happens. He's like out jumping out of the box. You know, and like I couldn't live like that low highs and lows. And as a property developer, I'm getting off the subject a little bit.
No, you're not. You're bang
But you've
on.
got to like even out the bumps a bit.
Mm.
I think if you can, things don't go right. Okay, what is it? What's gone wrong? What's the solution? Where can I go to get an answer? Who can I talk to? You know, rather than get like too upset about it. And same thing with the highs. Like, you know, something really good happened this week. As you know, yesterday I got a contact that from somebody that I've been hoping for, and it looks like it might be happening, and it would be really good, but I don't know 100% sure. And so I'm not, you know, as I said, it hasn't happened yet. It hasn't been signed up yet. Haven't signed the dotted line, you know, but inside I'm sort of all excited, but you got to calm down.
You just got to wait until someone signed that dotted line.
Yeah, because it might not happen because I've been excited before.
Oh, no, I've been there. We've even celebrated a bit too early a couple of times. So we have done that. What signs show you that something might be a genuine opportunity? That, you know, what is that thing where you have that gut feel, which is gut feel comes from somewhere. It's not actually just a gut feel. It comes from that competence, the knowledge, or everything, you know. But what are the main things where you go, I've got a deal?
Some people might say when you've done the numbers and they stack up, but you know what? I've said this to people. I don't know if all developers are like that, but I've sort of got a sixth sense. I almost know, like before I even do the numbers, I know where the hairs on the back of my neck go up. Something happens. I can just smell a deal.
Mm.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, like it's weird because you can't smell a deal. How do you smell a deal? Dog smells a bone, but you know, how do you smell a deal? It's just a sense you get. It's just having done a lot of deals and looked at thousands of deals, and know what's good, knows what's not good, done good ones, you know, had a few speed bumps and some detours on some, you know, but yeah, I just get a bit of a sixth sense. But you can't buy something on a sixth sense. You think it's going to be good, but I often get a bit of an indication.
Yeah, you know.
But pretty quickly you got to do your due diligence. You know, it's all about the right due diligence and getting the numbers done properly, and then you know you're on a deal, because ultimately property development is about numbers. And that's when you know you've got a good deal, when it stacks up. When you've done everything right, done good due diligence, the numbers stack up, then you've got a deal. But I get this sense early.
And you're ready to go. What about, you know, we've worked with enough people, and you've worked with way more than I have. When you've got a student who missed out on a deal, do they usually come back a little bit less strong, or how do they come back, do you believe?
I think in the early days, it's very much on their personality, on how they deal with disappointment. And you're the expert. I mean, you've studied personality. You're a personality profiler, so I'm not going to like jump in where you are. But in the early days, when you don't have much property development experience, a lot of it is really how you are as like raw. You know, how you are as a person, how you deal with disappointment, how you've learned to deal with disappointment over the years. And so that's probably going to play out more. As I said before, once you've been a developer for quite a while, you've done you've gone through the speed bumps, and you know you sort of
when it's not your first rodeo,
don't have the same highs, don't have the same lows. You're sort of fairly moderate, middle of the road, take it in your stride sort of person. Then that, like we talked about just before, that comes with the experience. But I think you're talking about very early in the piece, could be first deal. How have I seen people deal with it? It's back to them. It's back to their personality. And you've had to, mentoring program, you've had to lift people up after disappointment.
Plenty of times, yeah. Sometimes when they've tried so hard and it's taken them some time to find a deal, and maybe that's because they haven't learned fast enough or haven't been competent enough with their numbers, and they're still getting everything double checked and they're a bit slower. But then as well, their patch doesn't have as much coming up, and they're doing the work. And then it's just devastating for some people, or it can be. They're just absolutely devastated. I remember the other Kyle Beakey, he just took so long and he worked so hard and he knew his numbers. He's blooming great at what he does. And oh my goodness, it was just when he finally got a site, we all celebrated because we know when people are putting the work in. We see the physios come in, they're sending them in, we're looking at them, or, there's so much work going on for them. And he just was so close so many times. And then when he missed, it was devastating.
Yeah.
Did you ever, for all of us, we all felt it from us. Oh no, he didn't get it. It went to auction, or somebody had paid way too much. Or
Yeah. He's into a good one now, which is an important thing.
Bob, what role does timing play in this?
Well, in terms of
in terms of successful developing,
yeah,
finding good deals, making yourself lucky, not losing good opportunities.
Timing can take lots of forms, I guess. Like you're thinking about the market. The property market doesn't stay the same forever. It has ebbs and flows, as we know, and even on the odd occasion, something out of left field that can affect the market. That could be like local, it could be national, could be even international. We've seen that happen a couple of times in my lifetime. So timing can have a bit to do with it in terms of what the market's doing at the moment while we're looking for a site, but also the time in terms of the amount of time that you're prepared to put into it, that you can put into it. If you're looking for a site and you can only find an hour a week, it's probably going to take you a while to find a site because time-wise you're not putting enough in. That's where you might want to consider something like an experienced buyer's agent if you're time poor. We've talked about that. So, but timing, look, timing's it sort of has this feeling around it, lucky timing. There is such a thing as luck. Like people say, oh, you make your own luck. Well, to a degree, that is true, but there is still good luck. I mean, if you won lotto, that's luck. I mean, the chances are 1 in, I don't know, 100 million, whatever it is. If you win it, that's got to be luck.
We're never going to be lucky with lotto.
You can't make yourself lucky enough to win lotto.
But you can make yourself a little bit lucky by buying a ticket. We can never be that lucky because we don't buy a ticket.
Yeah, I wonder why I've never won it.
That's why, Bob.
Oh, damn, I have to start buying tickets. But I'm just saying there is such a thing as luck. But you can't rely on luck. It's not, luck isn't a business plan.
No.
You can't make a career move forever on luck. So it's a bit there, and you do create your own luck. I'm getting off the subject though. We're talking about timing. I think you got to be in there, and you got to be in there consistently, and the timing will take care of itself. But it's consistency. Goodness,
get it out, Hilary. Use your words. Consistently looking, consistently running numbers, just consistently being all over your patch.
Yeah, exactly, all of that.
So how can developers build systems or put things in place that will make it more likely for them to find opportunities?
You got to look at where the opportunity is going to come from, I guess. Look, most opportunities still come from real estate agents in the area where we're looking. There's such a thing as off-market opportunities, but there's a lot less of them than on-market. And when it comes to on-market, it's more likely going to be a local. And so if you look at that and say, well, the odds are stacked that a site's most likely going to come from a local real estate agent. But then there's all sorts of local real estate agents. Some of them sell sites, some don't. So, you got to get to know them, and you've got to build relationships. So building relationships with the right type of agents in that area is definitely going to be a help to it. But it's also actively being out there and doing all those little things that you have to do in the marketplace, and going to open homes, talking to agents, the hard yards that you got to do. And so it's a system, but it's doing all the little things right to be out there, and also to be able to do quick and effective and accurate due diligence when you see something, and not ponder it for too long. Because if it's a good deal and it's publicly available, it's going to go fairly quickly. So you have to be able to make fairly quick, decisive but correct decisions. And that comes back to really learning how to do good due diligence, quickly crunching numbers, all the other stuff we've got to do, and be ready. You've got to be ready, have your structure ready, have everything ready, and so that you can act and you can act decisively. You've got to be decisive you can't procrastinate. And if there's a deal, you've got to be brave. And if everything adds up, ticks all the boxes, got to do it.
You've
got to be ready to do it.
You brought up. You've got to, yes, be ready, and if it's a good deal, it might not be on the market for too long. And that can also play out if it's been on the market too long and then the vendor realises that they need to reduce the price, or they have to sell because they want to travel overseas, or they've bought another property or something, and you are there ready. That sort of falls into being really available for an opportunity, being lucky for the opportunity because you've done the DD, you know it's still on the market, it's following what's going on in your area as well, and that's where opportunities will pop up. Bob, moving to my next question, it's what lesson has stuck with you the longest when you've missed out? Like, what's been a lesson that was a lesson that where you thought, I really learned something that time?
That example I did before, where I was having problem with the site and missed out on one in the next street. I mean, I still recall that. Hey, I can even see the floor, because remember it had a development, but I can still see the floor plans. I can see everything about that, and that would have been 11. I'd say about 11 years ago. Yeah, I still think about it, but it doesn't upset me. But I still think about it, and sometimes you do, but it's just a reminder, I guess, not to do what you did that wasn't successful.
Yeah. So what was your takeaway?
Well, the takeaway is if opportunity knocks, don't complain about the noise. That could almost be a tip.
It is.
I remember my brother-in-law told me that when I was about 12. I thought, it stuck with me, that one. In other words, if opportunity knocks, don't look for excuses or anything. I just grab it. I think that's what it means. And so, I should have I'm smart enough to know that was a good deal. Why didn't I do it? I was distracted. I could make an excuse. I could make, I was distracted. This thing was doing my head in, I could make all the excuses. But the bottom line is I could have done it. I didn't. That's all I can say.
So you left, but what was the lesson?
Well, the lesson was if there's an opportunity there, grab it.
Right.
Grab it by the throat.
Make it happen.
Yeah. Because dollars have lost, different value now. But I mean, like in today's dollar value, that project would have made, they were only small 2-bedder units, but it would have been you probably would have made 100, probably would have made $800,000. So that cost me $800,000 in a way. But then I probably found something else a couple of months later that made 800,000 maybe.
Still on your mind, so yeah. I hear you.
I've got to make myself feel good.
You do. Interesting, I had some mentoring students reach out because they were looking for some extra money with funding, and they stepped up and asked a couple of people and got 200,000. So they're now only looking for 200,000, and I think that's a bit of that. Like, make the opportunity happen because sometimes when you're asking for other people to invest, it can feel a bit awkward. I'm used to it now; it's my normal, but it can be a little bit stressful. He even texts me and said, "How do you do this?" But you can find it a little bit stressful when you're getting close to a line. But it's something that I do. But that is, putting yourself forward and making yourself uncomfortable creates opportunities. And when that means you won't lose opportunities. And so hats off to Craig. He stepped up. I think they're only looking for another 200 now. So I've got a few people that are interested because I did ask a couple, but if you'd like to earn 18% on your money and get 4% on the way through for, what was it, 12 months?
Yeah, 12 to 14 months.
12 to 14 months.
Could even use self-managed super for that matter.
Yes, you can use self-managed super. So that's actually a cracker. So if you want to, you will need to reach out pretty quickly. This will come out tomorrow, but you have my contact details. So reach out if you're interested in that, because that's a really great deal. I'd jump on it myself, but I'm a little bit heavily invested in some other things right now.
You are heavily invested.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I'm into property development in a big way. Bob, I think we've covered it today. We talked enough about missed opportunities, how to make yourself a bit luckier, which we've probably used before, but getting past that point where you're not feeling resentful and moving on. The big takeaway is just be ready, isn't it? Be ready.
Be ready, and there's always, as I say, another deal around the corner.
Yep. and learn to do it quickly. I just want to add one more thing actually that we didn't cover. For the people that are incredibly time poor, get help. Maybe it means somebody washes the car or does the housework, or
somebody looks after the kids,
Yep.
gives you time to
what
get out.
Stefan and Debbie did. Hats off to them. That's how they found theirs on week 1 or 2 or something. They said, we were going to find time. I said, you're going to have to get a babysitter on a Saturday. They did it once or twice and it was done. So you never know what that might look like for you. But it could be even just outsourcing something that you do that you don't need to do. And that gives you that little bit more time. It's commitment. It's for the high achievers, I say. Anyway, folks, I hope you got something out of this week's podcast. That's episode 229 done and dusted. We will catch you next week. Bye.
Bye.